All right. So today we have Forrest Willett with us today. So Forrest, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure. I got an awesome introduction to you through a friend of us, a mutual friend Akshay, and I'm super excited to hear your story. So without a big introduction, let's just dive into it. So tell us a little bit more. Who is Forrest?
Well, I'm a father and I'm a husband. I've been married for almost 20 years now. And I'm grateful that I get to travel around the world and share the success principles with people all over the world, from all different levels in life where they're at. And it could be from prisons to 2 weeks ago, I was speaking at the Royal Horse Guard Hotel at Buckingham Palace in London, England. So it's just a wide range of people. And
Beautiful.
really happy for that to inspire people all over the world.
There's just wanted to jump in here. I think I mean, we've been on the call now for like 3 minutes or so, but there's that immense sense of gratitude that immediately comes over. Like when I jumped on the call with you, that's something you just radiate all the way from Canada to Switzerland. So I just wanted to jump in and say that. Let's dive a little bit into your story. Tell us a little bit where you're coming from. What's your story?
My story is from childhood. I grew up in a very abusive and violent home, and for that reason, my mother left when I was 6 years old. And I never thought I let that hold me back. I just kept moving forward, and I strive to be successful and get out of this pit of bad news all the time. And I was very successful in life. And in 2002, I had 7 businesses and 3 homes, and I had a car for sale. And so the gentleman wanted to take it on a test drive. So I sat in the passenger seat as he was trying it on a test drive, and he was speaking on the mobile phone to his son, and he lost control and the car flipped end for end. And I woke up 10 days later with a catastrophic brain injury. So all of a sudden, everything I accumulated in life was of no meaning to me. I couldn't trade everything I had accumulated in life to get the old me back. I had to start from ground zero, learning how to walk without assistance, learning how to speak. Again, I spent 5.5 years in speech therapy, learning to read and write and speak fluently. Occupational therapy, they would teach me how to brush my teeth, how to comb my hair, all the basic things. And when I returned home from the hospital and rehabilitation, the home I knew wasn't really the home, because when I woke up, I didn't recognize my wife or my son. I didn't know who I was or what was going on around me. Everything was brand new. And looking back now, the good thing of starting over again, you get to recreate your life the way you want. And I'm grateful for that. What happened in the meantime, while I was going through all these therapies, I spiraled into a deep pit of despair and depression. And I got to the point where I thought, if this is the way my life's going to be, I don't want to be here anymore. I was just so depressed. And they said, I was watching TV one day. That was one of my favorite hobbies, of being depressed. And they said, coming up next is Jack Canfield, the creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul books, star of the movie The Secret, with his new book, The Success Principles, how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And I remember pulling the blankets off my face, thinking, I don't know where I want to be, but I don't want to be here anymore. And he went on to say, what would you do if there were no limitations, if anything were possible? And as I was laying there, I thought, not only would I learn to read and write, I would become an author like this guy. Not only would I learn to speak fluently again, I would become a speaker. And I would also overcome this depression and anxiety and help others overcome it. And I called my wife into the room, and she wrote down his name and went and bought the book. And as you can see, it's really thick. And I had 2 problems at the time. I couldn't read past the grade 3 level. I was reading books called Bernstein Bears. I don't know if you have them where you live, but they're little children's books. So it took me a year and a half to read this book. But within a year and a half, I started living these principles, and I got off all medication completely. I was taking antidepressant pills, anxiety pills, sleeping pills, painkillers, all these massive amounts of medications. Within a year and a half of applying these principles and changing my lifestyle, I was able to get off all medication completely, returned to school, graduated, I started writing a book. And since then, I've written 2 books, which have been really exciting for me. And I'm also featured in the New York Times bestseller, The Success Principles, 10th anniversary edition. So 10 years ago, I couldn't even spell New York Times bestseller. Now I'm in one. And the man that I seen on TV that day, Jack Canfield, I now share the stage with him and traveling all over North America.
Wow.
And it's just a really amazing turnaround. My book, the first book, is called My Journey from Hopelessness to Happiness. And the 3 words that changed my life were baseballs don't bounce. And those 3 words came at my son's 7th birthday party. His friend gave him a ball and a glove, and he ripped it open and threw the ball to the ground, and it just went thud and rolled in the dirt a little bit. And he picked it up again and threw it at the ground and just thud. And his friend shouted, "Baseballs don't bounce." And I thought, wow, my heart just exploded. I thought, how would he know that? Because I had never thrown a ball with him. Someone else taught him how to ride a bike. Someone else taught him how to skate. I spent more time with my depression and my negative thoughts than I did with my son. And that was the day that it was just a turning point where I said things have to change and change now.
Wow.
And they have.
Wow. Now that's, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, with that depth, it's an amazing story with, all kinds of emotions coming up. It's just, wow, mind blowing. And, wow, this is amazing. So tell me a bit more, I'm just really curious, success principles. Where did you start? Just trying to put myself into that position. Even just attempting to. I feel like the first thing that comes up is being in that state of where there's no motivation at all. How do you get even to that spark that starts everything? Where did you even start?
Well, I think where it all started was I had an inability to create a future. And that's where the depression came from. You just can't see things getting better in the future. So then you lose any joy or excitement of future. And when Jack was introducing his book, he said, it doesn't matter your current circumstances, your background, or what you've been through in life. If you apply these principles, you can totally transform your life. And that was something that I wanted, but I didn't know how to get that. And so I was starting from ground zero. And it's funny that the first success principle is take 100% responsibility for your life. Mm. And I skipped past that chapter. I thought, well, this isn't for me. This must be for other people, because I felt I wasn't responsible for the position I had been in my life. And so I went through all the other principles and applied them in my life. And it wasn't until the day that my son's birthday came along with those 3 words, that was the day I said, wow, I have to take 100% responsibility for my life and my happiness, because nobody else is going to come around and make me happy. So many people think Prince Charming is going to come and save you, or Daddy's going to save me. People have to stop waiting for that and take responsibility for their own lives and their own happiness. So I realized that, if you want more friends, go out and be a friend to somebody. Where I was sitting at home with my arms crossed saying, poor me, my friends don't come around anymore. Where is everyone? But I wasn't getting out there and interacting with people. So things changed in a big way. And I had to keep persisting and being persistent and keep at this, because a lot of times you want to give up or you think your dream's too big. And I had some, I'd say they were wildly crazy dreams, where you say, I want to be an author. Well, you can't read and write. And I want to be a professional speaker. Well, I couldn't speak fluently, and I stuttered really bad. So I had a lot of roadblocks and obstacles to overcome.
Definitely. Wow. Wow. Now, I'm curious, like, tell me a bit more about the details. How did your days look like where, during that transition? I mean, it's been I think it was a couple of years of, going through that transition and, learning everything again from scratch. And what did you do during that time? How did you, also mindset wise, because I think that's always one of the most difficult challenges to, I always talk about this, being awake versus being asleep. How do you stay awake in terms of actually, embracing, talking about the success principles, actually living them and not falling asleep into, I'm not responsible, or, things are not happening. Where did you start? How did you do that?
Well, what happened was I realized that things weren't changing. I was doing the same thing over and over every day. Things were not changing. And a lot of it had to do with the medication I was taking. I was taking painkillers, Oxycontins and Percocets. And it's really strong painkillers. I had 14 operations to rebuild my face, arms, and hips. So in my mind, it was okay to take them because the doctor prescribed them. What I was doing there was I was chemically snipping the wires to my fire alarm. If your house is burning down, your fire detector makes a loud noise, and people, if they're cooking, they just pull the battery out and shut it off. Well, in life, everything was burning down around me. As long as I could take these pills, I was disabling my fire alarm. So I had to take responsibility in that area of my life and realize that I needed some help. And the first thing was to admit it and get out of the denial stage, where I was saying, just give me a few more weeks, I'll be okay. And the weeks turned into months, then into years. And things just get worse as you procrastinate and avoid the situation. So I had to first ask for help and then be willing to accept it. And those were some tough things to do, especially when you're in denial. You can't accept where you were. So once I accepted, this is the state that I'm in, this is where I am, this is where I'm starting, from then I could move forward. And when I reached out and asked for help, it was surprising how many people were there to help you. And they were there all along. I was just too proud to ask for help. One of them was my own doctor. He said, we could make an exchange your depression pills for exercise. I said, oh, that won't work for me. He said, have you tried it? I said, no, but I know it won't work. So he said, I'll meet you in the gym tomorrow morning at 6. I thought, wow, this is a doctor saying this. And I said, well, tomorrow might not be good. There again, I was putting things off. So I ended up meeting him, and I met him every morning. And, I just started out on the treadmill, walking and walking. And I noticed a change in my brain. I was feeling more positive, more oxygen was getting to my brain. I was feeling better about myself. And things just started to change slowly. It doesn't happen overnight. People say, oh, you're overnight success. I'm a 14-year overnight success of working on it, and I still work on my recovery every day.
Wow, that is incredibly powerful, especially those different stages going through. And it sounds like it's always the initial spark is always sort of like the key. Always, okay, the doctor says that you're kind of like denying it, and then, you know, it keeps pushing a little bit more, and like, okay, maybe I'm going to be there, and then I'm going to be there. And then sort of as soon as that, maybe it's a decision, as soon as that decision is made, then things can actually start to progress. So, wow. So tell me a bit more about the present. You know, you mentioned some exciting things that you've just been up to. 2 weeks ago, you were in London speaking. And, you know, actually told me a lot of good things about, you know, what you're creating right now. So tell me a bit more about what are you up to right now?
Well, the present is just unbelievable. I can't believe how much just in the last year things have really changed. And I hold workshops all over the world on the success principles. And it started out with the program, Train the Trainer, which is available online. And through Jack's work, I'm able to help other people. And through helping other people, it has helped me. And it sounds odd, but a lot of times you think, I'm going to help these people. They help me. And it's given back to you in more ways than you can explain. Last Saturday, I had lunch with Mike Tyson. He's a famous boxer. That was pretty excited. And in the last year, I've spoken in Dubai, India, the Philippines, London, England, all over United States and Canada. And a few short years ago, if you told me that, I would not have believed you. And I think a lot of that had to do with the doctor's outcome they had for me. So the doctors at the rehab hospital and head injury clinics, trauma centers, told me that I would not live a productive life. And I would probably never work again or drive a car. All of these things. And when people plant those seeds in your brain, they often take root. And they did for me. And it took a lot of work to dig those seeds up and get rid of them. And a lot of us are given those seeds as children, told, you know, why can't you be smart like your sister? You know, you're too dumb, you're too slow, you're too fat. Those seeds stick in kids' minds, and a lot of times it limits them. It really holds them back in life. This summer, I went up to Northern Ontario, and I took an airplane ride. I sat beside this guy, Adam, and I have a picture of him I use in my slideshows. And he said, "What do you do?" I said, "I help people overcome limiting beliefs." He said, "What's that?" I said, "Have you ever been told you're too slow, your goal's too big, you'll never achieve that?" He said, "I had a public school teacher tell me that. She would say, 'Adam, quit looking out the window at the clouds, because when you grow up, no one's going to pay you to sit there and look out the window at the clouds.'" I said, "Oh, is that right? What do you do?" He said, "I'm a medevac pilot. I airlift people out of small First Nations communities, and I get paid to sit there and stare at the window at the clouds." So,
wow, that is amazing, man. That is a beautiful story. Wow, I mean, I'm so much in on that. It's you know, I'm working every day on you know, these things, you know, all these beliefs and things that have been brainwashed into my head, and that is just limiting. Because when we look at kids, and my wife's pregnant right now, so I'm going to experience that gift in a couple of months. And it's just, when I look at kids, there is no limit. You know, they want to fly, they fly. You know, they don't have this limiting belief that they say, "I need an airplane to be able to be in the air and fly." They just lie on the ground and they say, "I fly." Or, you know, they persuade their daddy so much so that he holds them up, and then they fly. It's just, to me, it's one of the most astonishing things on earth.
it is. And a lot of times we have these big dreams as kids, and we go for it, and we get it. And whatever we want as kids, we get it. Because people, if you ask like a kid, like, you're going to learn this soon when your baby starts talking, and "Daddy, can I have a cookie?" "No." "Daddy, can I have a cookie?" "No." "Daddy, can I have a cookie?" Then finally you say, okay, and you give it to them. But as adults, we hear no once. Can I have a promotion? No. Okay. Then you go put your shoulders down and walk back to your office. But if you said, can I have a promotion? Can I have a promotion? Eventually your boss is going to say, okay, well, you need to take this course or do this, and we'll give you the promotion. Or you may say, what's it going to take for me to get that promotion? But so often as adults, we allow the fear to squish our dreams.
That is huge. Like one of my friends recently asked me, do you have any thoughts on, on teaching your children, life and things like that? And I said, well, there's really one thing that I want to make sure my kids embody, which is there's never a we can't afford that, or we can't do this, or it's not possible. And it's always, how can we make it possible? What does it take? What you just mentioned. I think that small shift there, it's huge, massive. So tell me a bit more. What's coming up for you? What's coming up in the next couple of days, months, years? What are you creating right now? Where are you heading?
Next week on November 2nd, I'm going to Miami, where I'll be working with Jack Canfield. He's doing a 1 Day to Greatness program in Miami. Then November 5th in Dallas, Texas. And then I'm back home for a few weeks. And then just here in Canada, doing some workshops for government employees, teachers. Last week I did a full day program on the success principles for 75 government employees, which was an amazing success because it's so great when you can see people, they light up, their faces light up, and I share with them, just dream like you were a kid again, and what would you do? And a woman came up at the lunch break and said, I'd be interested to know how many people quit their job after attending your seminars. And I said, it wasn't my intention for you to quit your job, but if you're not happy here, why stay? So and we shouldn't stay where we feel that we're stuck or that we hate what we're doing. And it is not my intention at all for people to quit their jobs, but really they should do what they love.
That is huge. I guess that's the next topic we're talking about. What's your grandest vision of life? Where does what is the change that you are creating in the world through the work that you are doing? What's that picture?
I would love to see a world without depression. And stress and anxiety are the number one reason people miss work. I brought this topic up when I was in London 2 weeks ago, and someone there had said that in the United Kingdom there's 10 million lost work days due to stress and anxiety, and it far surpasses physical injuries nowadays. And people say they get overwhelmed and they get anxious, so they say, well, this report's due tomorrow. Well, it's not, I don't have it done. Oh my God, their chest starts beating, and I'll call in sick because I don't have it done. It'll give me another day. Well, then the next day it's not done, and the stress mounts up and up and up. Eventually they say, well, I have to go to the doctor, and they took me off on stress leave, which usually boils down to stress, depression, anxiety, and it's mostly brought on by ourselves. A lot of times the workplace could bring it on also, where they want so many workers to do more with less. And that's the case in many workplaces now. And that's where safety gets compromised, especially in healthcare. If nurses are cutting corners because they're asked to do more with less, do you want to be in a hospital where they're cutting corners and saying, well, I have to avoid this and we can just bypass this little test? I wouldn't want that. So it's people need to just slow down, and it's just seems like a rat race world, and it doesn't seem to get any better. But if people are mindful and can take care of themselves, then they can take care of everything else. But if you let yourself go and your mind go, everything around you just crumbles.
Oh my God, I so much resonate with that. You know, over here in Switzerland, the whole topic of burnout is a huge thing, right? 50 years ago, nobody talked about burnout. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Now we got burnout clinics at every beautiful lake here in Switzerland, so you know that people can recover from that. And it's just to me, it's insane how the world looks like in terms of stress and things like that today. So that picture is, I mean, that vision of creating that world is huge. It's massive. It's beautiful because I mean I look at it that way. Like if we had a world like that, I mean, imagine how people will play together. It's just an impact on that, impact on their family life. Just focusing on work and the impact from work into family life, into I mean everything, the whole ripples. It's just that's why I love these clear pictures, because you can take that picture, that vision, and say that's how it impacts it on a global level in every area of life and business and everywhere.
Yes, and I also realized that a lot of our stress is brought on by comparison. And I recently, probably 3 weeks ago, released a YouTube video about the dangers of comparison. And if you look at social media in the last few years, Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook is skyrocketing. And right along beside it is depression, anxiety, and suicide. Skyrocketing right beside at the same level. I'm not a researcher or a doctor, but I can see what's happening is we're comparing ourselves and we're stealing our own happiness by something you see on TV. And you might say, oh, there's Daniel. He's sitting under a palm tree having a margarita. Must be like nice to have in his life. And when we compare ourselves with each other, we're stealing our own joy. And it also creates a separation when you compare yourself with others. Where when you're grateful for someone, and if I was to say, oh, I'm so happy for Daniel having a nice trip, good for him, it brings us closer together. And people need to understand that we're creating this ourselves. And how are we creating it? And a lot of it is through comparison.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is huge, especially now with social media and everything. It's like, I think we always compared ourselves to others, but with social media, it's so easy. The only thing you have to do is you pick up your phone and then you compare yourself. It used to be more difficult, and now it's a lot easier. And now it's like on steroids, and it's I mean people live on social media very often. It's crazy what's happening there. I love technology. I mean, this wouldn't be possible without technology, right? I wouldn't be able to do the work that I do without technology. But there's a difference between leveraging technology and becoming a slave of technology. And I think that's an important thing to watch out for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me a bit more. One more thing I want to talk about is gratitude. There is I'm really good at noticing things. Throughout that conversation, there's that groundedness that you have. I don't experience that a lot. Like with most people, they're not that grounded. There's a sense of being grounded that you radiate. So how? I guess the right question is, how do you practice gratitude in every moment? Because it's easy to be grateful when things are good. How do you start from a place of gratitude when you maybe believe that things are not going in the right direction?
Well, a lot of times we think that things aren't going in the right direction. And we can't plan for things that don't go in the right direction. Like, for example, this morning I came to my mother and father-in-law's house because I have no internet. I couldn't plan for the storm to happen and take out our power. But I had to be prepared for it. And I'm grateful to be on this call with you. In my workshops and talks, I share a story of my childhood that I said, I'm grateful for my mom and dad for the gift they gave me of love, kindness, compassion, and empathy. And I shared with you earlier that I grew up in a very abusive and violent home. And for that reason, my mom left when I was 6. And the gift they gave me was how not to treat another human being. Mm. I learned that at a young age, and I'm grateful for that gift that they gave me. And I'm grateful for all the people around me. And every day when you're grateful for something, it makes you happy. And I'm grateful I was given a second chance to live again. So many people, there's over 1 million people this morning that did not wake up around the world. I'm grateful I did. And I'm grateful for the work that I get to do. And when you come from a place of gratitude, all the money and materialistic things don't matter anymore. It's what fills you. You know, I went to a school in London in a little area called Ponders End, and it's a very economically not stable in this area. 46% of the children live in poverty, and so it's a high gang violence, a lot of drugs in the area. And so the school where I went was a school outside of the school where these children were given a second chance because they'd been kicked out of school for bad behavior, either stealing something or maybe selling drugs. It's their last chance. And when I went there, the young man, he said, "This is rubbish," and he had his arms crossed like this. "I'm not participating." I said, "It's just like life. You don't have to participate. You get out what you put into it." And after 2 hours, the talk was over, and I was packing up my computer, and he said, "Is this just one time, or are you coming back?" I said, "I'd love to come back." He said, "I would like that too." And for me, I was so grateful. That meant more to me than speaking at the big palace on the red carpet. I was just so grateful for that moment. It was really touched my heart that this young man made a shift in his mind in a few hours that I don't want to be a drug dealer like my brother. I want to be a musician like my auntie. And for me, that I'm grateful for that.
I think that is the whole point, you know, talking about the impact we have in the world. You know, we can talk about a lot of the external impact, but that's only a cause of something else. And I think, I mean, that what you just experienced, it's that, what you said, you know, that mental shift, that decision. I don't want to be this, you know, I want to go there. I'm no longer going to do this. That decision just changes everything inside, and then the rest starts to show up and happen. And beautiful. Thank you, Waman. Thank you so much for the story, though, the whole story and everything around it. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for showing up, taking the time, sharing this. And just one last thing, where can people connect with you? What's the best place to find you, connect with you, hear more about you?
On my website, forrestwillett.com. And also on the website, if they're interested in learning about the success principles, there's a free 10-day transformation that they can get there. There's no cost. And you can try the success principles out for 10 days and see if it makes a difference. It's an amazing tools that will really transform your life.
Amazing. Thank you for that. So I'm going to link to that below the video. I'm going to sign up for that right now because I want to go through that. I know of Jack Canfield. I never really dig or dug too much into the work, but you made me so curious. So I'm gonna sign up for that right now. Then I'm gonna link below the video to the website so people can check it out. And yeah, get in touch with you, reach out. Sign up for the email list and hear more about you. So once again, thank you so much for taking the time for being here, and wish you an awesome day.
Thank you. I'm grateful to have been on your show.